Yes.
Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Spartan 117. Welcome to Koalatea Time.
Welcome to
KO Koala Entertainment Podcast. Anthony and Skylar will take it from here.
I can't actually hear
Master
it.
Chief,
I never can hear it.
out.
I started my recording. Are you proud of me, Dad?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Koalatea Time, the KO Koala Entertainment Podcast. I'm Skylar Sokol.
And I'm Anthony Nicolosi.
Today we have a special guest, the demon who possesses Anthony Nicolosi.
Hey, the inner beast.
Oh God,
The inner animal.
that's the guy who almost killed a snake one time.
Yeah. Yeah, he fucking got away. I can't believe he got away.
I'm so happy.
I'm respect Jacob. I called him Jacob.
That's good. Okay. Anyway, so today there was some interesting news that Anthony told me about, and he wanted to talk a bit
You ready
about
for
it.
this?
So yeah, give us the news.
Hey, Google being Google, shutting down Stadia Game Studios.
Classic Google.
Yes, classic Google. We'll get into that in a second. Straight from Engadget reporting. I'm not sure. I think Kotaku originally broke the news, but basically, Google shut down all of its first-party studios. All of its studios that were working on games. They
Working on Stadia exclusives.
Yeah, if people remember the original GDC pitch for Stadia, a bunch of cool and hip Google execs got on stage and they were like, just wait until you see what our internal studios are doing by building games that run on the cloud. No more 12 teraflops of computer. You have the server farm as your target hardware.
Did they release any games?
Nope.
None, right?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe there was some small thing that somebody made, like, not to diminish what was made, but to say that like it was maybe some like proof of concept of the platform or something, little kind of game. I'm sure you're Googling it right now. But anyway, they have shut down all of their internal studios and they're basically pivoting to just like offer the service through third-party relationships, right? So like Stadia would be your option instead of Luna, Amazon's Luna, or xCloud. xCloud being the only one right now with Xbox that has first-party offerings.
It looks
right?
like it was led by an industry veteran named Jade Raymond, who departed the company, and that was sort of the beginning. It has been involved with publishing a small handful of exclusive titles, including GYLT, Orcs Must Die 3. I played the first two of those. They were on Steam. They were pretty good. Submerged Hidden Depths and Outcasters. So apparently some games have been published, but I don't know if they were first party developed.
Okay.
But they were exclusives. So I guess it did happen a little bit.
Yeah, so according to Phil Harrison, the head of Google Stadia right now, Google believes working with developers and publishers to bring third-party games to the platform is the best path to building Stadia into a long-term sustainable business. So first of all, there is a whole website. I'll be Googling it here in a sec. I want to say all the things Google has killed. Right when Google got into Stadia, there was quite a few people just saying, well,
the betting pools.
Yes, they won't even make it, to actually doing anything because Google has a habit of killing things pretty frequently, pretty often.
Now, I gotta say, I was at my friend, I think I mentioned this on podcast before, but I actually watched my friend Ben play Immortal Phoenix Rising on Stadia at his house over wired internet. It ran great. It was like pretty amazing. I was very impressed. So like the technology definitely works, and so it's not like a fault of the technology, but I will say I'm not sure they did a very good job of advertising it. Like,
didn't. I don't think they did a good job on advertising, nor the business model. The business model is absolute trash.
Yeah,
you have to buy a game, and then you have to pay monthly for the service. Like,
well, but if you pay like for the deluxe service or whatever, you get 2 free games a month of your choice, apparently, and then you keep them. Or some, it was like some weird.
I don't think that's accurate, but I don't know.
I mean, that's what Ben did. That's what he told me he had. But I think it may have morphed. Like the strategy may have morphed at some point or something. I have no idea how it works, but that's what he said. Yeah. He said there was some model where he was getting free games, and that's why he was okay with paying for the monthly service or whatever. It seems similar to Game Pass.
That's cool that wired controller work. Yeah, it's definitely not Game Pass. Like I'll find it. But anyway, because my reference here is Sean Jenkins, another guy from our work who tried it also initially. He did not like his experience, but I don't think he was playing it wired, right? He was like playing Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it does not work that well over Wi-Fi. And also, I mean, the technology, it had a lot. He may have played it at the very beginning, and who knows what kind of optimization and fixes they've done since.
I think he did. So, anyway, there's a lot I think to talk about here. One, yeah, to get back to closing out the thought on the Google killing things. Google, having worked extensively with Google platforms and APIs or whatever, as a software developer, Google does a lot of stuff well. I as a developer, a lot of their tools and everything like that, they're easy to use. They've got great documentation, great support, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to, like, from my perspective, the like commercial facing stuff they do, most of it, like they kill stuff that, in my opinion, often has some merit to it. Or whatever.
No, they just spin shit up, and when they feel like they're done with it, they just spin it down.
Thankfully, YouTube hasn't
not one
died,
of them.
Right?
I don't think that will die.
Yeah, and I don't think will either. Hangouts, for example, is the one I always think of. It was like their instant messaging service that they tried to replace like twice with different offerings that had traction. It was like, I don't know. They might have had like technical reasons on the inside why they didn't just update Hangouts or whatever, and then they eventually killed it. Anyway, just to say, I don't know. For people who have a vested interest in Stadia succeeding for some reason, I'm not sure who that is anymore, especially since all the developers just got laid off. Then hopefully, I just totally lost my train of thought. Hopefully, this is not necessarily the death knell for it. I feel like, having the way that Google has killed things before, this might just be the first indication that eventually Stadia is going away.
Maybe, yeah. So here, I found the model, the purchasing model for Stadia. So there's a service called Stadia Pro. If you subscribe to that service, every month you get to claim two or more free monthly games based on Google's decisions in the month. For example, in September and October, they let people claim 6 games for each of those months. And there's a list of 91 games on the Stadia library. Almost over half of the library is available to claim for Pro subscribers.
So
and you own the game permanently once you claim it. It's
so
not like Game Pass, where when you play a game, you don't own any of it. You actually gain ownership of the game, which is actually cool, right? Like, getting ownership in that situation is great.
So that's basically kind of like Xbox Live Gold, games with Gold, and PS Plus.
But those are pre-selected games via those services, whereas this is player's choice. You pick from basically any game, or any 50% of the games in the library.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't think it was that at launch. Like you're saying, they must have like kind of pivoted on that to make it more interesting. Because also you need the controller, I think, right, to be able to play Stadia.
I believe that's basically all you need is the controller.
Okay. So
and like a Chromecast, which you can get for other reasons.
Anyway, I feel like one of the things that I started thinking about today, like we've talked about whether the big boys, the Googles and the Amazons, are going to get involved in game development, right? And I think the thing that this kind of smells like is maybe Google started to realize how messy game development is, especially from a business perspective. It's a creative endeavor, and so you can't necessarily track that the same way you track like a software project or something that's a little bit more linear from an execution standpoint.
I mean, as we saw with like Jeff Bezos's Crucible or like New World, both of those games, like Crucible died. And we had a whole podcast about why Crucible died.
They shut it down. And
then New World, I don't know, it's had a few betas, but it's never looked that good, in my opinion, in any of those.
I've actually forgot about that Crucible move that we talked about previously. These kinds of things happening make me think that these big guys, at least right now, I don't think they're interested in spinning up internal studios. Doesn't look like it. Maybe they'll buy some external ones, right, and bring them into the fold. We've talked about that before. but it gets to this reality of games being hard to make, and sort of being like a terrible business model, like Crucible showed, right? Like even if you have a talented studio, even if you put a significant amount of resources into it, there's like people are just there's just a buffet of fantastic entertainment options for everybody nowadays, and
the games market is very saturated. Yeah, and if you're not gonna like take it really fucking seriously and do a lot of research into like into the market you're providing the game for, what already exists in that space, you're gonna end up with like a Crucible, right? It was like a formulaic copy of a lot of games that already exist. It didn't do anything unique or that felt unique. The like gameplay wasn't that satisfying, you know, like
yeah.
Just because your game looks good visually is not really enough anymore.
Well, and some of the most successful games this past year, Fall Guys, and Among Us, they're the two like that kind of shot up there at the end of the year. They're not even impressive on that front.
I mean,
right?
Fall Guys isn't that really impressive visually, and their like development and design and like UI design and tons of shit was fucking horrible. Their like netcode shit was horrible. Like so much about that game was in a terrible place when it came out, and even some parts of it are still in a terrible place now, and that game was still wildly successful, right?
Yeah,
like it shows that the idea matters a lot more than the execution, at least for initial sales.
Well, and even I don't know. I would even say there's what last year proved is like there's an increasingly larger importance on community momentum, right?
Sure.
Creator influence, all this stuff. Games are messy and hard to make. Is the point? And it seems like
hard to make and even harder to sell, I would say.
Yeah, harder. Yeah, 100%. Actually, data from we've talked about it before. The data shows that there's the correlation between review score and marketing dollars spent, which when it has a stronger indicator of a game sales is actually marketing dollars spent. Like just because a game is good does not mean it will sell good.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. So what? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that we are going to see these big tech companies try this again, or do you think they're just going to call it good and offer these things as a platform and allow subscribers to like jump on?
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't just start just doing the platform thing. Like that's what these companies seem like they're good at. Is the platform part of it. I'm surprised they wanted to even do any first party development in such a saturated market space, right? Like you would think they would look at the business prospects of that and be like, wow, this shit is saturated. It's not just saturated with like independent developers. It's saturated with fucking enormous companies who all they're doing is making games rather than doing like a bunch of shit like Google. So why would you even try and compete with that?
Yeah, at least right away.
Right. Like the platforms are a way less competitive space, right? Especially the cloud platforms. Like very little of that exists right now, right? So if you can do it well, that's a way more lucrative opportunity than making first party games.
I wonder if they came into it with like unrealistic expectations. They hired Jade Reynolds and her team and I don't know, put some kind of aggressive scope on it. Right. She gave some update somewhere along the way of, we're not going to hit that. And they started to, I don't know, realize the reality of delivering these things. I mean, it's just, I was saying it today. What originally spurred this topic in my head was I started talking about it in a vlog recording and I just started going for it. We've talked about it before, but it's difficult. It's difficult per se. Like certain elements of a game are difficult to make. The networking code for something, there's so much stuff. There was actually this recent blow up a couple days ago where Summit said like, why don't game developers just like basically try harder on hacking systems? Why do they keep implying that the reason why there continue to be hackers and cheaters and ways to break games is because studios are not investing in being able to shut those down. And actually, he got quite a bit of a response from the game dev community surrounding like that's harder than you think, right? Like,
right.
Building something that's unhackable, whatever, is not trivial. That's why we continue to have problems, not because there's not an investment. That's just like one thing. how you make the good animations, how you make the good environment and storytelling, and just like have a team that's several hundred people big, like make this experience. It's really hard.
And what's actually ironic to me is nowadays the visual stuff is like the easy part because there's just so much available, right? I mean, if you want to like go ham, obviously it's still very difficult, and like the cutting edge of visual graphics in games is still crazy hard to do. But if you just want to make like a pretty good looking game, that's not that hard anymore. And I think that's one of the big problems, right? In the past, like Google or Amazon could release a game that like looks pretty fucking good and is like in a genre and just be like, here you go, this is a game, enjoy. Like, you know, like sort of like Hearts, like Blizzard does, like with Overwatch, right? But nowadays the market is different, right? You can't just release like a game that a small team could make in Unreal themselves and think that it's just gonna suddenly sell.
Yeah, technology continues to commoditize like everything. Also in the game space, I agree with you. Yeah, you could maybe before have like, hey, look, check it out. Here's Crysis, you know,
right.
like out of
Crysis
nowhere.
Is a great example.
You know, but you can't really do that, or at least I don't know. I thought that maybe the server farm thing could have led to like a couple years down the road, probably unrealistic, but a few years down the road, a Stadia studio being like, here's a 3,000 person battle royale that lasts weeks.
Right.
You know,
here's like the equivalent of Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it runs perfectly at max FPS and everyone's plane is visible.
Can you imagine that? We're simulating the entire New York City, like whatever, this entire quadrant. We are supporting few thousand players in the game, and the game lasts until everyone's dead. This could last weeks, you know, and blah, blah, blah. That's kind of what I thought they would do, the way they pitched it. I don't know if maybe what they were running into is like, the reality. Maybe that's what they were working on, and then they saw the roadmap and how long that might take, and it just wasn't stomachable. I don't know. If you're one of those guys with billions and billions of bucks and you can't stomach the game investment, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
it speaks to how shitty games are from a business perspective.
Yeah, or like anything where you're making something in such a saturated market, right?
Yeah, but like games in particular, right? You can't. I mean, games have tried alternate routes to like subvert this a little bit, but you can't. Unlike another product, a game is a game once it's a game. You can't release like a half a game. Like, it's just, the game is not there yet. Well, I mean, you know what I mean?
Early access and stuff, people sort of have, right? We have early access.
That's what I was kind of implying,
right? I mean, that's actually an advantage to the game industry that a lot of things don't have, is like this early access quality, right? You can't buy like a beta version of a baseball bat or whatever.
Early access nowadays, in my opinion, is relatively well polished. When I'm saying you can't release a game before it's done, is not necessarily by your determination of what's done. It's more of like, you can't release a game with like fucked up animations. You can't release a game with
I've played plenty of early access games with like even placeholder graphics.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're just not in the PC space as much, but that happens all the time on PC, honestly.
I guess you can release you can release a game. You can do that. But I have not seen, I can't think of a AAA game in recent memory that released a game like that, I guess, outside of Cyberpunk on base consoles. Can you think of one? Well, a AAA studio released a game that was not done.
Well, but they don't do early access, right? So it's different, right?
But I'm just saying, they could, I suppose, do early access, but would a AAA studio release it, and that's front. EA wants to know your question. Josh in chat is saying Battlefront. I didn't think
Battlefront's a great example. That game was fucking horrible when it came out.
Andromeda is an example.
Mass Effect Andromeda as well. The Witcher 3 was horrible when it came out. Cyberpunk's horrible when it came out. I don't think
Witcher 3 was Andromeda bad.
Mm-hmm. It was horrible. It was like so buggy. And Fallout 3, also fucking horrible when it came out. You can literally get Fallout 4, whatever.
76 was fucked.
76, but even Fallout 3, which is a very
maybe
game, was horrible. You can get stuck literally on the first quest of the game very easily. Tons of people just like can't play, and you have to enter a console command to skip the quest. This literally just happened to Sean like a few months ago when he was replaying Fallout 3. Yes.
Wow.
It's not fixed. It can still happen.
So I don't know. I suppose you can, but you like the Cyberpunk situation. I think in my head, the Cyberpunk console release, specifically the console part, is like what I'm talking about. You can release it like CD Projekt Red is, but they shouldn't have. Like, you can't do that.
But the thing is, the game industry doesn't punish you for that like other industries would. You know, like if you release like fucking a product that like it hurts people or is underperforms in a way, like you'll get fucking lawsuits. You have to recall the product,
and
right?
They are right, like CD Projekt Red for the consoles.
Yeah, but I would bet you money that none of those lawsuits go through, like have legs.
Them going through is one thing, but the point is like I do not agree that there was no consequence to that release. Mm-hmm. Like, did they still go through with their pre-orders? Like, I guess technically yes, but is there no consequence to them now and looking forward into the future? Of course not. There's no way they're going to have. That's not going to have any kind of impact unless, I don't know, they establish some amount of. I guess what you're saying, like, it's true that, like, let's say the next CD Projekt Red 7 years down the road is just a fucking banger, you know, like amazing, no issues, flawless launch. I think people would forgive what happened now.
Yeah, I think people will forgive it even without that. Even if they just say that's what's happening, people will probably forgive it. Like,
what do you mean?
If they just like come out with their new trailer for their new game and it looks fucking hype, people forget it like instantly.
Yeah, I agree. That I agree.
Right?
People will,
and that's like
people
very
will jump
unique to the
games
games industry because it's so hype driven. I feel like, especially for big, rich ass studios who are well established, people don't care. I think that's one of the big problems with Amazon and Google, right? Even though they're big and rich, they're not well established in the gaming community. So people don't trust them like they trust current publishers in the community, right?
But I think it is
because like current publishers release shit games all the time. Like Watch Dogs, the original Watch Dogs, had a horrible launch, and that whatever. Like people still bought the fuck out of it, right? But Crucible, people did not buy like at all.
I agree with you that there is merit to like the trust, if you will, in the studios and the brands and the publishers that builds up over time. Like, I definitely agree that. Like, I will buy a Nintendo thing without a doubt because it's Nintendo who made it and they have the history of making all that stuff, like, for sure. I just
even
think
though the Wii U exists, for example, right, which was like not a great console.
Hey, I love the Wii U.
But like, you know, the public eye does not see that as a good console. It didn't sell well, yet people still bought the fuck out of the Switch. You know what I mean? No one cared.
Yeah, but the Switch was good. I still think like the main thing that screwed Crucible is the fact that it's Crucible, and it was like what we talked about that one time where it had a lot of ideas and they were all just kind of like fine and nothing like really stuck out. It was like run of the mill in a lot of ways.
But I mean, that's like Call of Duty every year is that, right?
Yeah, no, true.
Right, and like, that sells every year.
I'm just saying, if Crucible was the Cyberpunk, I think it would have done better. If it was Cyberpunk.
But the thing about Cyberpunk, right, is I don't think what's in the game even mattered in that case. I think it was just the marketing. Like, Cyberpunk did a fuck ton of marketing because they understand how to get a game to sell, right? Google and Amazon don't. They don't know that, like, they don't know what you said, that marketing is the thing that actually sells games, not making good games anymore.
Right.
And I really think they did a horrible job of marketing all of those products, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I just like they could have, if they don't want to do it, if they don't want to spend that money, like, who's gonna, you know? Mm-hmm. They have like all the money in the world and they don't want to. It's a shitty, it's I don't know if hit driven is the right word, but it's, if you make this sizable investment up front on development and marketing, maybe you budget for it, and then you get money on the flip side. That's true in a lot of other businesses. You spend a lot of money on marketing and you recoup those costs over time, whatever. I just feel like you build up all of this. Okay, I'll finish my first train of thought. You spend all this money, you spend all this effort marketing. The game releases. If it's a dud, and you don't make back your costs, that's a reality that happens every so often. And it sucks. Like, it's hard to get that. It's hard to recoup that from a business perspective, because that also
go ahead.
That subsequently affects your budget for the next thing.
Right.
No, blah,
totally.
blah, blah.
It reminds me of a lot of the like creative entertainment industry based stuff too, like a movie, for example, or a book, or like all of those things. You're like, you're really betting on like something that you can't really guarantee.
Yeah, it's not like in my head, I'm comparing it to other services that Amazon and Google offer, where there's some initial convenience it offers that makes you want to use it, right?
Yeah.
But then little by little, they make it better,
right?
And it improves, so you can start getting money through the door initially, like in a good game launch when it's successful. And for example, let's say you have a great multiplayer that backs it up, or some kind of like service system on the back end,
like Rocket League, for example. I would say
like Rocket League. Then you can sort of emulate that model. You release the initial game, and then you release updates, and
that's literally what Rocket League has done, and it continues to be extremely successful and make tons of money, right?
And Fortnite, right, the most successful game ever.
Minecraft as well.
Minecraft
also has followed that model forever. But for all those things, you have to have a quality initial product. And I think that's what a lot of large game studios are starting to lack. They're like getting more and more lax on what that initial product is, because they expect that they can, iterate on it once it's already out, and that people are standing for that less and less, it seems.
I think it's hard, for various reasons, it's harder to make sure that initial thing is a quality product. Like, you might have technical advancements that make your graphics better and all this kind of stuff better, but that doesn't make the game design better. That's still a very creative effort. It doesn't. We've talked about the dynamics inside of, especially these larger studios, being like what the reality of somehow having a several hundred person effort coalesce into something that's clean and pure and fun and stuff. That's tough,
Yeah. And maybe and you have to do so much beta, audience, super fan testing, right? And I don't know how many of these AAA studios are doing that much of that anymore,
I would, that's just another thing that if you're brand new to the space, maybe it's not, even if you know that you should do that, you might not be able to execute it the first time to the efficacy that you need to pull your results. You know what I mean? It's not easy. They spend a lot of money. Maybe they thought it was easier. Maybe that's the problem. You go into it, it's like, hey, how hard it can be. We have the server infrastructure. We'll make sure the technical expertise is on board so that we have networking's great. And we'll hire a bunch of experienced designers. It'll be easy, but that's literally every AAA studio out there has those parameters.
Right.
And not every AAA studio is a banger, which implies, even from the outside, without knowing anything about development, that clearly there's got to be something tough about that for not everybody to be doing it. If it was easy, everyone would do it. It's a difficult dance to dance. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
a
casual romp through the news today.
Yeah. Just
just chilling. If you're listening to this and you ever have any kind of topic in mind that you'd like us to discuss, let us know. Sometimes we might pull something like this. We've done this periodically where we talk through some events that happen in the news. You can find us at koalaentertainment.com. Real quick, you can join the Patreon, and one of your benefits is asking a question every week. So Josh, why do you have one? We have Josh also. Sorry to interrupt here. Twitch is the home of the live Quality Time broadcast every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We stream the latest episode of Quality Time. Right now, Josh is talking to us, our third dev, and he's asking if we have a patron question. Turns out
sure do.
Do we?
Yeah,
I was going to say, I think we might have answered them in conversation. Let me see here.
Stan Scott asked what's up with all those stock trades. But
yeah.
I don't know if I would say
Yeah.
ask your accountant.
The answer is it doesn't actually relate to gaming. Even though GameStop is the stock in question, it does not
It
relate
just relates
to gaming.
to taking down the capitalist pigs, which I'm all in support for. Tune into our other podcast, Capitalist Pig Takedown with Koalatea Entertainment, where I'll talk about my opinions on that. But yeah,
in my opinion, GameStop's business model is still shit. That's the answer to the question. And they got the crazy Robin Hood gang might have rolled their stock a bit.
it has nothing to do with GameStop being a good company. It has nothing to do with AMC being a good company.
They had a new investor coming in, GameStop in particular did, that got people excited and stuff. But in my opinion, I don't know about you, but I feel like GameStop's just been sitting on their ass for the last decade and didn't innovate their in-store experience at fucking all. They just push fucking credit cards down everyone's throat.
Get physical game sales out of here, please.
This is what you get. I mean, in my opinion, I was thinking, as digital sales continue to increase, why do I want to go to your store? I feel like they should have gone the route of like what actually Best Buy kind of did, what the Microsoft store was, make it a cool spot to try peripherals or some shit, something like that.
Let me fucking sit down and like play. Like I pick a game at your store and you just like load it up and I just get to like play it for a bit before I buy it or some shit, right? Like how sick would that be?
Let me go try the new Razer, the new Logitech mouse pad that's hard and it's not soft and it's not cloth like Sean. Let me go somewhere and try these things.
Sean, by the way.
Is it good?
It's great. It's my favorite mouse pad I've ever used.
Hard pad gang today in the Discord.
Hard gang. Right here.
Hard gang.
It does flex a little bit.
That's kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's exactly like the one I've used in the past. I was saying like, I'm moving around and my nails, my thumb and my pinky are actively always hitting that.
Yeah, but not my nails. It's like the pads of my fingers. Tune in next week for the YouTube tutorial on how to use a gaming mouse.
It's not my fault they make these for small people. Like how do I say, like my stupid ass hands are dragging all over the place. Anyway, I'm not sure if don't take this the wrong way, hard pads, but if you guys have those covers that go like when you put your nails on there, oh, those are fucking awful. Those are the only ones I've ever tried.
Wait,
so
like
I can't hear. I couldn't
exactly. See, so it's not very loud of a sound. Clearly,
no. I just think the ones you have, I've never used.
Yeah. Must be. Yeah. You'll have to try it sometime.
Yeah. That's it. Until next time, you can find us at koalaentertainment.com. There's links to all our social media. Join our Discord.
Woo!
We do giveaways every 3 weeks. We just did a giveaway.
Yeah.
Did a giveaway. We're about to launch a new one that's going to be run in 3 weeks.
Check out the new Koalatea Time merch. It's amazing.
I'm not wearing it because I've been wearing it too much and I need to wash it.
Today.
This is my Koala Tech shirt. And if you're looking at it and you're thinking, fuck, that's cool, you actually can still get it. It's now no longer for sale, but you can get it if you're a patron.
Oh, get those outdated merch designs.
Patrons get archived merch designs as options for them if they want free stickers or free merch. And that's cool.
That's sick.
Yeah, you get a bunch of other perks. That's enough of this.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Shout out to all of our Koala Manjaro subscribers, especially I Got Your Potatoes, Marcus the OK, and Sand Squid. Thank you guys so much for your unbelievably generous support. And to all our Koala-tacular subscribers, thank you as well. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, I know that you get a ton of stuff with your benefits. You can find all the information following the link in our bio wherever you're at. Go to our link tree, go to patreon.com, search KO Koala Entertainment. There you can find the multitude of benefits that await you when you subscribe. Thank you again so much.